Higher education is currently fracturing over how to handle artificial intelligence in the classroom. Academic departments are dividing themselves into two opposing camps, both operating on a false binary. The first camp defaults to uncritical embrace. They integrate new generative tools based on the promises printed in software brochures, assuming the platform will automatically solve deeply entrenched teaching challenges. The second camp defaults to reflexive refusal. They ban the technology outright, treating it as a pure liability without conducting an empirical investigation into its actual capabilities. Both reactions stem from the same error, attempting to evaluate complex academic technology through marketing claims. When curriculum committees rely on vendor brochures, they force themselves to choose between buying the fantasy or rejecting the tool completely. Rigorous evaluation requires discarding that binary. You do not have to adopt the technology to evaluate it properly. The goal of an evaluation is to produce a bounded, evidence-based verdict, specifically deciding to adopt, adapt, or reject the tool for your specific classroom context. True evaluation is the process of forcing software to conform to the specific terms of your academic engagement. Consider Professor Haddad, an engineering professor who evaluated an AI platform for his Mechanical Engineering 240 course. He reached a final committee-ready decision to adopt the technology. This is the result of that decision, the MECH 240 AI Adoption Plan. It is a specific operational document that dictates exactly how the technology functions inside his course. The plan sets rigid boundaries. Formative use, such as tutoring and concept review, is permitted within the AI platform. Summative assessments, the actual machinery of grading, are kept strictly outside the software. With these boundaries formalized, Haddad transitions from abstract evaluation theory into a reproducible engineering process. The AI is assigned a defined job, constrained by a defined set of rules. To prove the validity of this specific plan, we have to look past the finished document. We must work backward, to examine the raw data and the hands-on testing that built it. The audit process provides the rigor that makes a syllabus policy defensible. This visual ledger is the honest matrix. It functions as a measurement tool, mapping an AI platform's actual capabilities against its predicted coverage across 6 core teaching problems. The first step in this audit is stripping away the marketing language and assigning strict ownership of these academic problems. We have to determine who is actually doing the work. The problem of static materials belongs entirely to the platform. By compiling course notes into the AI tutor's grounding, the platform successfully answers student questions at 11 p.m. using the professor's precise notation. Tutoring load also shifts to the platform. The AI absorbs the routine first-line student questions during off hours, assuming the platform operates within its designated rate limits. Visibility is a shared problem. The platform successfully generates per-student data windows and interaction reports. However, aggregate analytics do not exist yet, meaning the professor must execute the cross-student synthesis every week. Time and currency are also shared. The software provides instant publishing and rapid recompiles, but deciding which sources deserve to be included requires the professor's continuous verification. Academic integrity lands exclusively in the pedagogy column. No platform solves academic integrity. The software contributes low-stakes formative checking, but integrity remains a function of your assessment design and faculty policy. Software owns software delivery problems. Pedagogical philosophy is untransferable. Moving from the conceptual matrix to actual software deployment requires a pragmatic audit tool, the 6-lens scorecard. During initial evaluation, many metrics on this scorecard are correctly marked "cannot verify yet." A rigid audit systematically targets these specific unknown variables. When those unknowns are empirically tested in a sandbox environment, assumptions are replaced with hard data. This hands-on evidence finalizes the open variables and forces the scorecard metrics to move. In Professor Haddad's audit, his metric for control improved. He successfully verified that the AI persona honored its prompt boundaries and rejected out-of-scope student prompts. Conversely, his metric for fit downgraded. Hands-on testing proved that reading individual student interaction reports to build cross-student synthesis required significant manual labor every Monday morning. Documenting these limitations is the purpose of the scorecard. If your specific academic context cannot sustain those labor costs, a highly documented reject with reasons is a successful defensible outcome of this process. An evaluation scorecard that never adjusts its metrics based on hands-on evidence is not an evaluation. It is advocacy. Reaching an evidence-based verdict is only half the process. An academic decision devoid of daily operating habits rapidly decays into the institution's default chaos. To prevent that decay, the verdict is converted into a one-page adoption plan resting on 4 operational pillars. The first pillar is transparency. The professor embeds a stewardship statement directly into the syllabus and delivers a clear walkthrough on day 1, explaining exactly where the AI ends and human grading begins. The second pillar, boundaries, explicitly limits the tool to formative use and keeps summative machinery completely separate. The third pillar enforces recurring habits. This includes the regular save, compile, publish rhythm when updating course materials and the required weekly review of the student roster data. The final pillar is onboarding. The professor explicitly invites students to engage with the system and explains what interaction data is visible. This 4-part plan is the mechanism that takes a static committee verdict and transforms it into a living, sustainable classroom ecosystem. When you step back from the immediate mechanics of scorecards and adoption plans, a permanent pedagogical baseline emerges beneath all of this work. Integrating AI into education continuously assigns the professor 3 foundational roles. The first is the architect. The AI may propose syllabus structures or generate lesson modules, but the architect permanently disposes. The professor sets the ultimate trust levels and approves the structural proposals node by node. The second role is the verifier. No matter how advanced generative models become, the review step is never optional. You verify chat outputs, grounded generations, and quiz distractors against your own expertise. The third role is the ethical steward. You audit what the AI believes about you, and you must consent to data usage as a user before you begin monitoring your students as a professor. Think of the platform's analytics as a window. An ethical steward must stand on both sides of that glass, understanding what it feels like to be observed before observing others. The arrival of faster, more capable AI tools will change the scale of these 3 roles. It will never reassign them away from the professor. The models you master today will update, merge, and be replaced by new iterations before the next academic term begins. The specific button locations will move, but the evaluation frameworks, the calibrated trust ladder, and the 6-lens due diligence checklist transfer wholesale to any future technology. When the platform announces aggregate analytics or expanded generative capabilities, you treat those announcements simply as new, unverified claims. You run them through the exact same matrix. Completing this process end-to-end creates a mentoring kit, your plan, your scorecard, and your artifacts for when colleagues inevitably ask for guidance on navigating these tools. Share your completed adoption plans, your finalized scorecards, and your worked artifacts as explicit proof of concept. The ability to hold the line on true academic rigor through these frameworks survives any future model release.